baptism need to be about keeping these commandments.
This is not what I expected out of them. The true Bible, the book of our fathers.
Right. The Most High has given us guidance on what we need to do.
So Officer Eli. So Officer Nashon. Officer Yekiel.
Hey, Shalom Israel, Most High in Christ bless. How y'all doing this afternoon? It's getting close to the Sabbath. It's coming in, Israel. Good to be with you tonight. I'm Captain Dakar. Glad to be with the family once more and again. I'm here with the brothers. Glad to have them here. Got some smiles going on there. Got a couple of brothers smiling. Got Nate Sean. He got here. All praise to the Most High. He's with us tonight, and glad to be here with y'all and myself personally. Get an opportunity to be with the saints. So for me, this is an opportunity to be on the radio show, which is the Bible Book of Our Fathers. This is just an awesome show. The brothers, I've been listening and watching their classes and shows that they've been bringing out. It's just been real helpful to the nation, Israel. So continue to follow us, whether it be on one of the outlets. Follow us, and even our local YouTube page, right?
Yes, sir. IUIC Carolinas.
Yeah, bring that out. That's what I'm talking about. So there's a lot to do. We just want to make sure that we come and aid and support our people. So there again, glad to be here. And before we get rolling off, Nation, let's just kind of clear some things up. Let's do that.
Yes, sir. Israel united in Christ. We are not a hate group. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group. Israel United in Christ is a nonviolent Bible-based movement. We do not advocate or condone any acts of violence against any race, ethnicity, or gender. We advise that if anyone hears or knows of any plots to cause harm to anyone or to break the laws of the land, you must contact the proper authorities to bring awareness to any possible threat as stated in Leviticus chapter 5 and verse 1.
Thank you, Officer Nation, for bringing that out. And we are in compliance as a people.
That's right. That's right.
We're obedient people. We're not struggling with the laws. That's what we do. We keep the Most High laws, and we try to teach them to our people and to bring out this understanding and their repentance and bringing Israel back to their rightful place. That's our goal, and we're going to continue to do that until Christ gets back here.
That's right.
The show that we was doing, this is a segment that we're going off of, and we was dealing with family matters, and it kind of went into a place where we continued it, and so we wanted to look more in depth to see, how families are, and many of us came from those households. Many of us now are actually have families of our own,
Right.
You know, and so you can see some of the challenges that we have. Some of the things that you have to do. You have to look over your children. You know what I mean? You have to guide the house, right?
That's
The
right.
scriptures tell us that, right?
That's right.
And those things are taking place even in Israel. And one of the things that we find out that there's some dysfunction sometimes that come about in our homes too. And so that's what we're going to tap into a little bit. But as we go on, I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to see also in the nation of Israel that we are people that have greatness. In that, we'll be able to find out that, we can also make families great again, too.
That's right.
You agree?
Right, I agree.
Yeah, I do, too. So with that, with further ado, Officer Larkin, let's start out with Genesis 1:27-28. These are some. This is a script that we pulled the last show. I want to touch on it again. I want to go back a little bit, and then we're going to work our way back forward, Israel. If that's all right with y'all. Will.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. So God created man in his own image.
Uh-huh.
In the image of God created he him.
So the Most High was bringing forth the nation of Israel. But read on.
Male and female created he them.
So he begins to put a family together. Here's the family being put together. Read that part again.
In the image of God created he him.
Mm-hmm.
Male and female created he them.
So here comes the family. And that's what we're talking about, because the Most High established it. When he comes and shows us that we're a great people. Being a great people, we're all, comprised of families. When
That's
you
right.
see us, you see us as a family. We're a unit.
Right.
And so, read on.
Verse 28. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth.
So that's our calling right there. We are to go out and begin and to raise our daughters and sons up and have them married, that we may replenish, that we may continue to grow, that we may have a legacy of our nation, of our history. And so that is important for us, Israel, to make sure that we do those things. So he said, read that part again.
Be fruitful and multiply.
Be fruitful and multiply. So that in of itself doesn't equate with, it has a number to it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have a number to it. It doesn't say 3 or 4. You know what I mean? It said be fruitful. I don't know how many that is. And multiply. I don't know how many that is. You know?
Right. And it don't say go with the doctrine of America and go with birth control.
Wow.
Monitor how many children you have. It says be fruitful. When you being fruitful, then you having children in abundance. It ain't no cap on it.
That's exactly right. And that sounds like a quiver to me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Is that all that Allah can?
Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowls of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth.
And I'm going to make you Lord over the earth. There's more.
Can I say something else in this cap?
Go ahead.
In 27 it says it goes into order. It said God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, the man, and male and female created he them. So God created the man and the woman. Okay, and then when you go to the next verse, it says, and God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, meaning that union of marriage. Then came the children. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I just,
that's the order you bring it
that's
out.
that order.
Yes, sir.
And that goes back to Corinthians 11.
Yes, sir. Because on the street, people say, who did God create in his image? They say, the people on the street might say, men and women. But it said, no, he created Adam in his image, and then Eve was created after Adam's image.
Right. Because it don't explain the creation of the woman. It right here is just showing you that, he created the woman too. But it didn't go into how he brought Eve forth, It just show you he made Adam, then he brought Eve forth,
We can bring that out, though. We can bring Eve on the scene, though, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's bring on the scene. Let's get 20.
Do you want that in Corinthians?
Go to Corinthians, then come back to that.
Yes, sir. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 7. For a man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image and glory of God. But the woman is the glory of the man.
And the woman is what?
The glory of the man.
Read on.
For the man is not of the woman.
See, the man was never made of the woman, but the woman, we're going to go back and we're going to see that she was made of him. Read that, officer.
But the woman of the man.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go back to
Genesis what?
2 and
18. Right.
You want to start at 18?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Genesis chapter 2, verse 18.
Okay.
And the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone.
So he says it's not good for Adam to be alone. Read on.
I will make him an help meet for him.
So he needs somebody for him. Read on.
And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them.
That's what we was reading a while ago, that he said he gave him dominion over all the subdue all the earth, the sea, and the fowls of the air. Read on.
And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof.
Right. And even into today. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Like even into today, we wonder where these names of these different animals come from. Hey, it came from the Bible. It came from Adam.
Absolutely. What verse you at, officer?
That was the end of verse 19.
All right.
You want to read down? Yeah, that's what we
verse 21.
Yes.
And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam.
This is Adam. This is the man that he formed. Read on.
And he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman. Here come Eve on the scene. Read. And brought her unto the man.
And that's what it does. The Most High brought her unto him. So it goes back in Corinthians, what we was talking about a while ago, right? Read that again in Corinthians. Now it explains itself.
1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 7. For a man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image and glory of God. But the woman is the glory of the man.
So Eve came from man.
Right.
Meaning
Of man.
of man. That's the point. Of man. Read on.
For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man.
Eve was made of Adam. That's the point we're talking about, Israel. And so what we're talking about here is that we're showing that the Most High has been dealing with families from the very beginning. He's always dealt with families. We're family people ourselves.
Right.
So when we was reading the article talking about, we don't subscribe to any. We don't. We have to love our people. We have to love our children. We have to love our wives. We don't subscribe to that kind of mannerism.
We need that. We had to focus on all nation and building up all nation because our nation is destroyed. So we had to bring back, like you said, make black marriages great again. We have to focus on all nation. All nation has been destroyed, and we had to repair it. So
we like we're going to talk about tonight, also. Yeah, we there's some dysfunction. We're striving. We're enduring. We're trying to get to the better of what we're trying to accomplish in the work that we're bringing forth as we rehearse these righteous acts. We're doing that.
Right.
We've been husbands to our wives.
Right.
We're taking care of our homes. There's food in our house. There's shelter. We're taking care of the chief things in life. We're doing those things. And that's what we're trying to do, and we're trying to guide our people in the right direction, Israel. That is the purpose. Eliakim, you through with 20, where you at?
Genesis chapter 1, verse 20, that was the 22.
Okay, let's see what Adam said about it. Go down to 23.
Verse 23.
Uh-huh.
And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh.
Adam said, this woman belongs to me. Read on.
She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man.
Read.
Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife.
And that's what we all done. We all established our homes. We all took a wife to ourselves, and we established that. And so, yeah, family does matter, brothers.
That's right.
It matters. And so what happens a lot of times is that, as you go along, you have to grow. It takes time. Marriage is, it's a long journey. It's a lifetime commitment.
Right.
That's what it is. It's a lifetime commitment. There's a small video, right? I want to pick on this show. And back in the day, I think it started back in 1989. It was called The Winslows. Now, some of y'all might not know. You say, I was just born in 89. Well, that might have been the case. But this was a show that was running. It ran like 10, 11 years. It was out of Chicago. It dealt with a black family. And what it done, it shows that, the father was working. He had a tough job. I think go ahead.
You said it was called the Winslows?
I mean, I said, no, it was called Family Matters. The family was called the Winslows. Okay.
My bad.
Thank you for helping me, though. I need the help. Hey, thanks for the love, bro. We love you for that. So the Winslows was in that was their name, the character, the fiction character that was on the show. But what it showed back in 1989, that our families, that black families were, they were coming together, they was managing, coming out. I'm just using that year for an example, that families had already produced a lot of good, strong black families. And so you had a gentleman by the name of Urkel, was a next door neighbor. Steve Urkel, right? This cat would stay over there in the house all the time. He'd come to the house. I think he wouldn't even knock on the door or some old crazy stuff.
Right. No.
He just walk up in there thinking he family, right?
Right.
They looking at him like he was crazy. But I think what Urkel knew about that, he wanted to be a part of that family. You know what I mean? They had something that they was offering that he wanted. And he would find himself over there all the time. So here's the theme that's to that song. I want to go ahead and play it. It's a theme. Now, I know some of you all don't know. This is 1989 when the show was running, its credits. So it goes back a little ways.
It went for like 9 years.
Yeah, about 9 years. Yeah, they kind of, they grow. You know how they, the kids get old on the show.
It's a rare condition this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page. And love and tradition of the grand design. Some people say it's even harder to find. Well, then there must be some magic clue inside these gentle walls.
Look at that.
'Cause all I see.
What you caught out of that?
Because remember, during the opening scene, you would see all the family members and they would stop. The camera would pause on them. They smile. Because that's what it's talking about. The gentle walls, the real love bursting out of every scene. You had the unit of the family and the song itself over this Family Matters title, which is the title of the show,
that union,
talking about that union.
Yeah. Good point.
Bursting out of every scene. We're gonna fill our house with happiness. The moon may cry, but we'll smother the blues with tenderness. There's room for you, room for me, for gentle hearts and opportunity. It's the bigger love of the family.
Hey, I know y'all get we got some laughs in about it. That's fine. The thing of it is that that show carried a lot of weight. 91% of the people, or a big volume of the people, like that show. And and I wanted to try to just extract some of Urkel's behavior, but Urkel, he wanted that family vibe that was what was the name of the family again? The
Winslows.
The Winslows provided, and Urkel found himself over there all the time. And the policeman, what name was Carl, and what it was that Carl, he was a cop on that show, and it was saying that he had a lot going on, and he was trying to deal with his family. And at the same time, trying to, help protect the city of Chicago. I think that was depicted from. And they had issues. You had things they dealt with, like racism or bullying, and I think some of the shows even dealt with drugs, and was, probably less today might be a little more commonplace, but back in '89, call the police. That's kind of what you had. Right. But family does matter, Israel, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Is it sometime? Is it always perfect? No, not always. We do have trials. We do have to overcome things, and I want to touch on a couple of letters from this book that we have. And the letters from this book, it shows that people had difficult times, and during their difficult times, they were still able to not only marry, but they was able to continue the family up under some heavy consequences. So the name of the book, let's get that up there. Let's put it over there. The name of the book was When I Was a Slave, right? And so looking back at it, it's a plethora of stories that they went across this country and gathered slave stories of their personal life, right?
Right.
So let's pick one out. Just pick one out. In Frank Bell, for an example, right? Lackham, I want you to kind of, when you get to Frank Bell, I want you to kind of see how they talked about him and where he was located and how old he was when they done this writing for him. No, just, from the top.
Okay, Frank Bell, page 9. I was owned by Johnson Bell and born in New Orleans in Louisiana.
No, go up to get the interviewer. Just talk about that Madisonville, Texas.
Frank Bell, interviewed at Madisonville, Texas. Interviewer not identified. Age when interviewed, 86 plus.
He was 86. They used him at 86. And a lot of times when you look at as I continue going through some of these stories, oftentimes I would stumble across our people didn't even know how old they were. And what you would have sometime that their parents would try to tell them that they was born in New Orleans, and they would try to put the city together with where they was born at, because they didn't. You can imagine that this explains some of the sales of slaves. You know what I mean? How they would get sold, how they would be born, and, you know, they would grab them up real young. So they didn't, you know, sometimes they didn't have that history. You know, and a lot of times stories like this, he's able to even abridge his story together. A lot of us couldn't even abridge our stories together. You know what I mean? Couldn't tell it. You know, where they say they say I was born, you know, he didn't have much of it that he could put together. Read a little more.
I was owned by Johnson Bell and born in New Orleans in Louisiana. According to the bill of sale, I'm 86 years old, and my master was a Frenchman and was real mean to me.
Cap, that's why it says 86 plus, because he really don't know his age. Wow.
He don't know. You know.
Go ahead, that's
In other words, he could be 86, so he could be older.
Yes.
Right. Wow.
Yes.
He run a saloon and kept bad women. I don't know nothing about my folks, if I even had any, except mama. They done tell me she was a bad woman and a French Creole. I worked round Master's saloon, kept everything cleaned up after they'd have all-night drinking parties, men and women. I earned nickels to tip off where to go, so's they could sow wild oats. I buried the nickels under rocks. If Master done caught me with money, he'd take it and beat me nearly to death. All I had to eat was old stuff those people left. All scraps was what was left.
All right, now drop down, and go down into the bottom. Right there, when I was about 7.
Last paragraph.
Yeah.
When I'm about 17, I marries a gal while Master on drunk spell. Master, he run her off, and I slips off at night to see her, but he finds it out. He takes a big, long knife and cuts her head plump off and ties a great heavy weight to her and makes me throw her in the river. Then he puts me in chains, and every night he come and give me a whipping for a long time.
This story, imagine now, what did he say? What was his punishment? He was trying to have a wife.
Right.
Just have a wife. Trying to start a family. There's more. Give me the next one. What was the name of it? Arnold
Gragston. Interviewed in Jacksonville, Florida. Interviewed by Martin Richardson. Age when interviewed, 97.
He was 97. So read the first couple paragraphs. Then we'll drop down.
Most of the slaves didn't know when they was born, but I did. You see, I was born on a Christmas morning. It was in 1840.
It was in 1840. Read on.
I was a full-grown man when I finally got my freedom. Before I got it, though, I helped a lot of others get theirs. Lord only knows how many. Might have been as much as 200-300. It was way more than 100, I know. But that all came after I was a young man, grown enough to know a pretty girl when I saw one, and to go chasing after her too.
So drop down, go down toward the bottom, right there.
Last paragraph.
Yep.
He was funny about us marrying too. He would let us go a-courting on the other plantations near any time we liked, if we were good. And if we found somebody we wanted to marry, and she was on a plantation that belonged to one of his kinsfolks or to a friend, he would swap a slave so that the husband and wife could be together. Sometimes, when he couldn't do this, he would let a slave work all day on his plantation and live with his wife at night on her plantation. Some of the other owners was always talking about his spoiling us.
So obviously you had a lot of plantations that was, I guess, nearby acreage.
Right.
You know what I mean? They
Right.
wasn't scattered that far off, you know, because he was talking about seeing her that night. You know, so it was walking distance. You know, a mile or two. I'm just trying to make sense of it. But the point of it is that, you know, there was somebody that he's trying to say that it might have been a friend. You know, it was somebody that a cousin that had a plantation, somebody like that down the road that they know, and they would I assume, let him go down and be with the wife, but they would still look at it like, you spoiling these rascals, you being too light on them, and what they was trying to do, marry again. Go ahead, Austin.
Now I was saying it was coming for because they weren't actually doing the labor themselves. So if you had any piece of land, you had slaves to go with it, So you probably had plantations lined up after one after another, during that time. So they weren't farming that land on their own. They weren't doing the cleaning and cooking on their own.
Right.
They had slaves. Go ahead.
And it just goes to show you the control that the slave master had over you doing what you want to do. The first story said that, get Deuteronomy 28 and what's that? Verse 30. Now I know it didn't talk about what this scripture is talking about, but the point that I'm trying to make is the control that the slave master had over the slave and them getting married. The first story said what? That he found out that he was trying to get married. He cut the sister's head off and made him throw the body, made him throw her body into the river.
Who was she? His wife.
His wife. Go ahead and read that real quick.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife.
Remember, this is a curse that Moses told what happened to the children of Israel.
And another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein.
All right, just finish it out.
Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
All right, so the point that I wanted was thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. So again, the point that I was trying to make is just the control, whether another man lie with the potential wife of yours or the slave master make you watch her die. You know what I mean? So
they had that power,
right? They had that power. That thing is crazy, right there, man.
Let's stay in that same chapter and let's go to 49.
Verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
This is the point right here in 50.
A nation of fierce countenance.
Read that part again.
A nation of fierce countenance.
So he cut the head off and tie weights around his wife and make him throw his wife in the river or whatever.
That's exactly how you need to tell the story. You have to tell it that way because what we was doing, we was establishing families. We had families. Men, where did they get this from? This is our pattern. These are the pattern good works that we had. Even being here, we still knew our history was that we was about family. Right. Go ahead.
And I was just gonna say, and that's traumatizing in itself. Having to watch your wife being beheaded. And then you have to throw the body into the river. You probably don't even want to never get married again.
Right.
So that's a trend that's just going to follow from generation to generation.
It's going to stick with you.
It's going to stick with you.
It ain't going nowhere.
You probably might be scared to get married again. Nah, I'm good.
That's what you see a lot with some of our people. Some of them in that street life, they still got some of that same trauma genetically or spiritually passed down to them. They say, no, I ain't trying to get married. I just, have my fun, do whatever, because them traumas that they experience.
Yeah, that's heavy because those things, like officer just brought out, those things just don't go away. Those are spiritually passed down. We as a people, this Bible had to repair us. This Bible had to heal us because those things are still in our spirit today.
Right.
And we still are suffering from the things that our forefathers and foremothers went through.
Right, and it goes back to, I think Eliakim was touching on, you touching on two officers, that, listen, even such today, you have women today and stuff like that, how she's in past times, or even sometimes you still find out that sisters still be critical of brothers, you know what I mean? They get on them, and that's kind of that mindset that they got from their parents, and that, so is the mother, so is the daughter, and Ezekiel is the same, that same pattern. And it kind of formulates itself in its status in the world today. Go ahead,
man. All these things are traumatizing, even to the woman. That's why you see a lot of these women running with Esau because they probably feel they feel more safe with them. Like you see this brother, she got killed. You know what I mean? There's other stories of something happening. They probably feel the black man can't protect them. but Esau could protect him more. I'm just showing the traumatizing, situation that's passed on to generation. That's what I'm saying.
No doubt. And there's a couple of more stories that I do want to touch on. So when I kind of seen it, I'm like, okay, this is a little different, but it's the same thing. So go to the next one. Go to the next person on the list in the book of I think it's called
When I Was a Slave.
When I Was a Slave.
I got the page. I'm holding it.
Okay, is that that should be?
That's 35.
All right, get
Well, you want 109?
No, yeah, we want Mary Reynolds.
Okay, I'm holding in the book,
All right.
the physical book.
Okay, well, go ahead and read it, Mary. Yeah,
Put it up so the people can see it. All right.
Mary Reynolds, page 109. You want to go straight down to that bracket?
no, go up, read up the year and who was it that done the interview, if you can.
Yes, sir. Mary Reynolds begins on page 104. It says, Mary Reynolds interviewed at Dallas, Texas. Interviewer not identified. Age when interviewed, 100 plus. So now you want to go down?
Yeah.
All right. Down to the bracket. After a while, I take a notion to marry, and Massa and Missy marries us, same as all the niggers.
Well, hold right there. Go up one chapter. Go up one chapter. Yeah,
Above paragraph.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the passing of time, but Miss Sarah came to see me. Some white folks done get word to her. Mr. Kidd tries to talk himself out of it, but Miss Sarah fetches me home when I'm well enough to move. She took me in a cart, and my ma takes care of me. Master looks me over good and says I'll get well, but I'm ruined for breeding children.
So, children. She's having children, but I try to put a bridge this together and trying to explain, because then the next chapter she says this. Read on.
After a while, I take a notion to marry, and Massa and Missy marries us, same as all the niggers. They stands inside the house with a broom held crosswise on the floor on the door, and we stands outside. Missy puts a little wreath on my head they kept there, and we steps over the broom into the house.
So that's where they get that jumping over the broom thing
yeah.
from? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. It goes back, and here's the point I want to make it a little significant. But read on, Officer Larkin.
Now that's all they was to the marrying. After freedom, I gets married and has it put down in the book by the preacher.
So that would be in the Bible. Mm-hmm. Like if you ever noticed that people would have their marriage in Bibles, that's what they're talking about right here. That's exactly what they're talking about, right? But Officer Nashawn is kind of bringing it out a little bit. That's where it actually comes from. And I just want to put go to the last one, Millie Evans. Go to Millie Evans. Now, this one, they jumped the broom, right? That last one jumped the broom. Okay.
Millie Evans begins on page 31. Millie Evans, interviewed at El Dorado, Arkansas, is interviewed by Miss Carol Graham, age when interviewed, 88.
She was 88.
So, page 35. I remember one night one of old master's girls was going to get married. That was after I was big enough to cook, and we was sure doing some cooking. Some of the niggers on the place just naturally would steal.
So they was hungry. Read on.
So we cook a big cake of cornbread and iced it all pretty and put it out to cool, and some of them stole it. This way old master found out who was doing the stealing, 'cause it was such a joke on them they had to tell. Old master's niggers was married by the white preacher, but he had a neighbor who would marry us niggers himself. He would say to the man, "Do you want this woman?" And to the girl, "Do you want this boy?" Then he would call the old mistress to fetch the broom, and old master would hold one end and old mistress the other, and tell the boy and girl to jump this broom, and he would say, "That's your wife." They called marrying like that jumping the broom.
They called marrying like that jump the broom. And so when you go through that book, When I Was a Slave, you're going to find out in there that you got to keep in mind that they was beat, drug, hung for reading and writing. So you're thinking that, well, they should have paperwork. That was their paperwork. Mm-hmm. That's how they got married. That's how it was.
They kept them away from anything that would
bring forth understanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They didn't want them to have to do anything with that.
Mm-hmm. You're right. Now, get the video. Show me the video. Get the video. There's a video I want to show y'all.
They wasn't allowed to have a covenants of marriage paper, because if you was seen anywhere near a pen and some paper, you get killed.
Can you imagine? You see writing, you see words. Oh shoot, he can't.
What you know about this?
You know how to read?
Right.
Because one of the stories I was reading about one of the brothers, that's what had happened to him. They found out he could read.
Who
He
learned,
said
Jamil?
one of the worst beatings he ever got.
Wow.
But even in that, they still had that desire to achieve them a spouse.
Right. They were still about family.
Hey, Kat, real quick before you put the video on, I just want to say, for you brothers and sisters that may be watching, that's, don't necessarily subscribe to being Israel or know the customs of Israel, but you know the customs of jumping the broom and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Nicard just brought out where that custom came from. And that's something that you got to think about. Where does all these other customs that you're celebrating, where do they come from? Where do these traditions come from? A lot of them come from when your family or your ancestors was in slavery and it got passed down. So you want to research these things, you know what I mean? Just so you know that they're not about you. We shouldn't even be partaking in none of these customs. The customs of your slave masters, the custom of your oppressors, man. I just want to make that point.
Yeah, I'm glad you did, because they was telling us in the book, whether it was, I think it might have been Mary, but they were saying that the white preacher done that.
Right.
Yeah, they were telling you where it came from.
You want to marry this guy, and do you want to take that boy? They couldn't even call him a man. You want to take that boy? Come on, man.
And so the next clip that we got here that we're going to put up, a lot of us seen this movie right here, and a lot of us familiar with the scene that took place. But I want to show you that our people were showing us that these things was taking place, and I just wanted to put the two together that we all can see. Like we're saying, it's a tradition they started. It's not anything that we did. It's what they did to us, and they would call us or say that we was married, or that's when they felt like giving us away to that man, or would give that person away to that woman. And you could see, like, some of them, that one brother said he, 17 when he got married? He was 17.
Yeah, he's 17.
He was 17. All right, play the video. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
All right, start it over.
Just going to start
Start
off
over.
just like that.
Let's hear it. Turn it up. All right.
Real quick, Kat.
Go ahead.
I gotta go back and go back into it, because they put this out in the movie, but they're showing it as this is a good custom.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they're perpetuating the BS that the oppressor or the slave master put out from way back then. They still pushing that thing. They're not saying that this is a bad custom that you lost. They're saying, nah, this is how you do it.
Right. When you look at it, your modern day, you're talking about your modern day marriages.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Your modern day marriages has this in there. You when they put their marriages together, a lot of these modern day families, that's what they do.
Based off that tradition.
If I remember correctly, my mom got married. I was a little young, but when my mom got married, I believe she did that thing too, man. I had no idea what they was doing, but now that I know, oh my goodness, I'm a tell her.
Yeah, this is. But the point of putting this, what we want to show our people is that, we tried to hold on to the family unit best we could. During those circumstances that we had, Some men even lost their wives. Like the one brother, he lost his wife. You know, so marriage meant a lot to us. Family meant a lot to us, Israel. And so, you know, when the Most High put that out and told us replenish the earth, we followed that. Yeah, we have some dysfunction in our family. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. We ain't trying to hide it. We're trying to fix it. But I'm telling you, you know, we had where we tried to do the right things. Even in those circumstances where it wasn't provided for us rightly. But we wanted to hold on to that unity. Start the video again. It ain't that long. It's just 40, less than a minute. Just start over again. Let's play it again. Got a right to the tree of life.
Right.
Also, yeah, you brought the script out. I'm gonna bring it out again.
Okay.
It said that no, Nashawn did. It was 30. Wasn't it 30? Read 28 and 30 again.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife.
So here in this movie right here, The Birth of a Nation, he marries her that day. That night, Esau came in and took her. I think that if I remember the trailer, if I remember the movie, I think he ended up sleeping with her that night, the day he married her, because he had some company to come over there.
Right, that's exactly what happened.
Read that part again.
Thou shalt betroth a wife.
So he marries her, and we all celebrating. This is the tree of life. This is a union. Read on.
And another man shall lie with her.
Then he came and took that man's wife that night. He came and took him from him. He was standing there. He was waiting on her to come out the door. And the one old coon brother come over there and try to tell me, man, just go on over there. I'll get out of the house. He said, man, I'm standing here. He said, I ain't going nowhere. He balked on him. He stood there and waited on his wife till that man got done with her. But that was his wife. He held fast to that.
Yeah, and notice for the rest of the movie, he wasn't right.
No, he would no. He was one of the brothers that went rogue up in there.
Yeah.
That thing was justified. That thing was justified. He was being redeemed. Yeah. So going back through that and picking up on it, we just wanted to maybe just show our people that, you know, marriage means a lot, family means a lot, and so you know, there's going to be trials and functions that does come along. We're not trying to get into the things that they had to overcome. That was those moments, those were the trials, those were the tests that the nation of Israel was pressing through that bring us up to this day. And just the things that we kind of harking on now in terms of, you know, you have people still jumping the broom today. That's not of us. You know, that was given to us in captivity. That's not something that we approve. Anything like that. That doesn't solidify, but that allowed passage or allowed a man to take on a woman back then during those times, and that he can call her his wife with the circumstances that they was faced with during that time. So let's continue on. All right. So that time it was difficult, but we could see that our people was really trying to hold on, and during those times there was a lot of dysfunction and there was a lot of narrative where we couldn't control how we was able to do things. And so the script was brought out in Deuteronomy chapter 28 that we was governed that way. We wouldn't have the freedom to read or to even write. So but then as time went on, time progressed, we began to take the model that we was given and we was holding fast to it. So give me the video of the 1950s in the city black community was strong.
Cap.
Yeah.
Can I show them that we had the marriage paperwork already before slavery when we were not?
Yeah, I know we had.
Okay. Yes.
Bring that out.
Tobit chapter 7 verse 14, and called Edna his wife, and took paper, and did write an instrument of covenants, and sealed it.
So we had writings. So we had paperwork where we did take a wife, and we showed that this sister belonged to this brother. and we would do things right. We did it right. During that particular time, they wasn't allowing us to read or write. But in our history, read that part again.
And called Edna his wife, and took paper, and did write an instrument of covenants, and sealed it.
And sealed the marriage. It's showing that there was a real, true union. And we done those things right. We done them right before the Most High. And so the thing of it is that we just wanted to just touch on that. But the fact of the matter is, well, we always done things right. We always dealt with our people right. And the thing of it is also that, you know, during that time, it was a heavy price to pay. You know, that part about the one brother, you know, that, you know, we started getting into some of that being dramatized, you know, losing your wife like that, you know. So let's go with the video. We got it up.
I grew up in South Philadelphia. We didn't realize it was segregated. All we knew is that our neighborhood was all black, and we weren't even that conscious of color because the people who owned the store down the street were black, the tailor, the restaurant owners, the undertaker, everybody in the neighborhood, and it was a very small street, everybody worked, blue collar, essentially. Very close-knit neighborhood. Everyone had over 4 children. We played in the streets together. On Saturday morning, our parents came out and the hucksters came around, and our parents purchased things.
Go back
we
on
had
that
to
a
go
little
buy
bit. Go back on it a little bit. Okay, play it.
Collar, essentially. Very close-knit neighborhood. Everyone had over 4 children.
Right. Okay. He said it was a close-knit neighborhood, and every household had over 4 children.
Right.
Right. It's not like, you know, today when how today our people we put our family on the back burner for our career,
right,
or ourselves. Even if we, you know, it might not even be about the career. It could just be that we're selfish, you know.
Right. You limit. You rather have more quote unquote stuff than bring forth children.
Right.
But you can clearly see that he used the number 4, basically that he was seeing families of 7, 8, and perhaps even more. But what he was saying, with nobody put no cap on the children, what nobody determined how many children they was having. They were just having children. They were just growing family.
And they were close-knit.
It was close-knit, meaning that if you ran out of something, you know, you go down there to your brother and holler at them. They maybe could help you with what it is that you was lacking. That's how you would build close-knit communities. Y'all probably don't even know nothing about this. Y'all probably don't even remember going to your neighbor houses and stuff, and that some things that you didn't have, such as sugar
or stick of butter.
Sugar. You would go to your neighbor's house and they would give you something such as a small item. You say, "Oh man, y'all couldn't afford sugar." No, you would just run out, and you needed some help, and you get it from your neighbor.
Eggs and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
You didn't stop making the pie because you run out of ingredients. You just get it from your neighbor's house. Keep it moving.
Yeah, you're right, Cap. Not to cut you off, but you might have had the funds to go get it, but you don't have it right then and there.
Right.
And like you said, you don't just stop making the cake or the pie because you run out of it. Hey, go next door and get that.
And it's not like you got to depict a lot of things. You know, a lot of what y'all have is convenience, and you know, pull up the Burger King, you can have it your way, that type thing. Back then it was rural. We wasn't in the city like that. You know what I mean? We had our own communities, like he said, in that city. But, you know, like he said, yeah, he talked about it when we went down there to the local store. It was black barber, black mortician, you know, black school teachers.
Right.
That's what made those communities grown like that, because we didn't, you know, we took care of ourselves. We was helping ourselves.
Right, Cap. And family always stayed close. I remember when I was young, growing up in Montclair, New Jersey. My aunt through marriage, they had a house, but it had 3 floors on it. So it had the grandmother actually, their mother, stayed on the top floor, and then you had the daughter on the middle level, and then another daughter on. So I'm showing that, you know, at that time our families or our people are always close together and stayed together. You know, that's something that you really don't see that nowadays. Everybody's staying in different states all over the place.
Following careers, going back to what you're talking about. That's that mindset. So he's talking about how we're talking about our communities. We're talking about our families, how we was conducting ourselves. Play on.
We played in the streets together. On Saturday morning, our parents came out and the hucksters came around and our parents purchased things. We had to go buy ice because there were no refrigerators then. We had a coal stove, so the younger kids were responsible for putting wood and coal into the stove and keeping it going. And the level of interest in education was just profound. I mean, even to this day, I don't think I've ever had such a positive educational experience than I did in my first 6 years, because school was an integral part of the community. We had a black superintendent, a black principal, all the teachers were black. Many of them didn't live in the neighborhood either. Contrary to popular belief, they were middle-income people who lived elsewhere. But their hearts and their souls were into those kids. I remember that third grade and fourth grade plays were always conducted in the evenings so that parents could attend. And an auditorium that seated maybe 400, 500 people was standing room only for a third and fourth grade play. Up until 1959, 78% of all black families had a man and a woman in them.
Pause right there.
That's a fact.
What was that percentage he just quoted?
78.
78%, right? 78% houses was filled with married people. Right. 78%. Wow.
That's most of them.
Wow. That's almost 80%, right?
Right. That's almost 80%. And he didn't necessarily say that. I'm pretty sure you had some instances where you had some may been divorced, but that was a small number,
right?
Very small number. 80% were married.
Were married. Not only were they married, this builds strong communities. That's what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. This is what it takes. Israel, you can't that mindset that they put the spirits on you and stuff like that, and there's a roundabout table that we'll discuss with these brothers that's going to bring it out and stuff. And they was talking about how they was, it's 3 things that you're going to do when you by yourself, you single. This is the 3 things you're going to fall into. You're either going to be an adulterer, you're going to be a fornicator, or you're going to be married. That's what you're going to do. And you have to, which one are you going to fall into? That's what's going to happen to you. And the brothers was actually talking about how they was conducting themselves. One of them, they were just talking about it freely, basically saying, hey, I was just a homemonger. I just talked about like it was okay. It was a way of life. And he said that's how things were. He talked about how things were. He said that. And so you clearly got to see that you have to, set your house in order. You know what I mean? You have to get there. You have to bring yourself to order and understand this. So let it play a little more before we go on break, Israel. Let it play.
Teen pregnancy was looked down upon. Sexual activity among kids, everyone bragged about it. No one did it. And but if someone became pregnant, if there was an aunt in the South, they would go there. So that the moral standards and ethical standards for people living in those communities was extremely high. It had little to do with your income. Many of us
pause
were
right
poor
there.
Without.
So it didn't have nothing to do with your career. You know what I mean? We had moral standards. Mm-hmm. We done things right by each other.
Right.
We established our home. We tried to build on that. We didn't find ourselves tearing our homes up. Mm-hmm. We actually was building communities. Mm-hmm. When we stay among ourselves, that's what he was touching on also. Later on in this, we're going to maybe get to not play it all, but later on in this video, he actually said that there was a guest integration. Mm-hmm. He says that. I don't know if you all watched it. He said, no. He said, we knew that would be a problem once we done that. Mm-hmm. And I talked to y'all about last time when we had to start going with them, we were shell-shocked.
I can imagine. I mean, especially during that time, both nations being at odds with each other, mm-hmm. and then you want to bring them together. So, I can see why people would be, adamant on coming together with them.
Right. That's just that's just a change. That's a heavy change right there. Because in the beginning of the video, he said we didn't know we were segregated. We didn't even know what segregation was.
This is how it's supposed to be.
Right. This is what it is. This is all I know. And now you throwing Esau in the mix. Now you feel awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, listen. I think we're coming up on a break. We're coming up on a break. Israel. Hey, stay with us. Hey, we're glad to have you. Glad to be back with you. I'm Captain Carr. This is the Bible Book of Our Fathers. We're bringing it out and dealing with our families and some of the issues that we have in it. And some of them are dysfunction. Hey, stay with us for the second half. With that, we'll be right back, Israel.
Throughout the South, especially in Mississippi, it's a different spirit here than in the North. In the North, we're used to saying whatever we want to say. So when we teach the Bible, it's people hear it. Many times they receive it. Many times they reject it. But in here, our people in the Southern area, it seems like they're more oppressed mentally and spiritually, that where many of the men, I'm talking about the men, are afraid to say, they want to say certain things, but there's a spirit of fear on a lot of them, and that's why they so desperately need this truth. In the beginning, no. I didn't think we'd go outside of New York too much, but once the Most High brought it to Africa, I knew all the doors was open. The doors were open.
Spirit of the Lord, man, you'd be able to gather these people that lost, man. Our people lost, man. You have to see the oppression here was more heavy than the North. So it is what it is, man. I guess you guys have to do a lot of work, man. Gather these souls, whatever they're at, the Spirit gonna gather them.
Yo, listen. You know, we are in the South. We all know what took place in Mississippi, in Mississippi and Tennessee, in these different countries, in these different states, in the United States of America. We all know what took place, right? But what we got to focus in on is that when you read the Bible, when you read Revelation, in Revelation it says, and in her was found the blood of the saints, all right? And the prophets that was slain, you know, in her, meaning right here in America, right here in Mississippi. You know, this land is polluted with the blood of the blood of the slaves, the blood of the saints of God. And listen, our job is to prophesy, man, you know? Listen, the judgment coming to America for all the innocent blood that was shed here.
Hey, Shalom Israel, Most High in Christ, bless, Bishop Nathaniel here. We're in lovely Little Rock, Arkansas, where we got a new grand opening. What's the location?
North Little Rock, Arkansas, 1802 Highway 161.
Yeah, what he said. Anyway, bring your Bibles, pens, notebooks, brothers, sons, wives. Bring everybody. Come learn your nationality and learn the prophecies, what we as a people need to do to survive in these last days. All right, Israel? See you then. Shalom.
Yeah. To the blood. Yeah. Loaded, what up? Feel like I got the power. I know that I'm a king. I got the spirit on me. Royalty in my veins. It feel like I got the power. I know that I'm a king. I got that spirit on me. Royalty in my veins. Royalty, 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 yeah.
Hey, Shalom Israel, Most High in Christ, bless. I'm out here in Memphis, Tennessee, with the bishops, deacons, and captains. We're in Memphis, Tennessee, for another grand opening because the South has something to say. What's the address out here? 3620 Commerce Circle. So brothers, sisters, bring your Bibles, pens, notebooks. and pens. Bring your husbands, wives, and your children to learn the history and prophecies for what we as a people need to do to survive in these last days. All right, Israel, we'll see you then. Shalom.
They don't wanna praise my God, all they wanna claim my Lord. Found these laws ain't hard, now I don't wanna hear that noise. You don't wanna put in no work, you know, man, you a scared little boy. But be the first to call on God, praying hard that he hear your voice. I hate it when they ain't like they for you. Living and sin like he ain't gonna judge you. Taking for granted the fact that he love you.
Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. I want you to know that you can view all our Sabbath classes live on IUIC TV. That's right, I said on IUIC TV. Download the app today. Shalom.
Israel, glad to be back with you for the Bible Book of Our Fathers, dealing with family dysfunctions. And so, you know, we could see there were some things that we brought up through the course of time. And so we wanted to touch on some of those things, Israel. And that's the thing that we want to do. We want to fix our family. That's what the commandments is all about. Learning and doing the will of God and fixing ourselves. And that's what we're working on. And so as men, we're the leaders of our homes. So we're the one that's out front, and we're the one that's going to guide our houses. Give me that in, right quick, give me that in Genesis, what I want, 18, 19.
Yes, sir. The book of Genesis, chapter 18, verse 19. For I know him, that he will command his children.
And that's where it starts. If you got children, that's letting you know he had a wife. So he's guiding his house. He's guiding his wife, and he's guiding his children. Who are we talking about? Read on.
And his household after him. And they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him.
And so he knew that Abraham was going to do the right thing according to the will of the Most High. So the fact of the matter is that we ourselves have to guide our houses like that, Israel. We have to set our houses in order. We have to love our wives. We have to love our children. We have to put them in a place where we care for them and letting them know that we love them, and they in return can love us. So it's vital that we do these things and put ourselves in that rightful place. Read it from the top again.
For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and that they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken of him.
So the brother was talking about in that clip that, you know, it was talking about the neighborhood. He was talking about the community, how they were dwelling and dealing with one another. And he was saying that, you know, the community was strong and that they was helping one another. And I'm telling you, that's how you deal. You deal with each other justly. You have to judge in your neighborhood. You have to judge rightly when you judge your people. And so he was saying all those things, but those things come from dealing with your people rightly. And that's what I got out of that. That's what he was saying. They didn't deal with each other evil. They were trying to deal with each other right, best they could at that particular time. They was doing the best that they could with what they had to work with. Because he goes on. I tell you what, let's go back and let's let it play a little more.
It had little to do with your income. Many of us were poor without realizing that we were poor. During the war years, I thought everyone had one pair of shoes. Today, I have a lot of shoes. Because of those
stop right there. Y'all, listen, he's hitting on something. I'm going to touch on what he's talking about. You would have a good pair of shoes that your parents had got you. And when you would come home, they would tell you, take those shoes off. Take them good shoes off. And you would have to put on other shoes.
Your play shoes.
Your play shoes. You can walk around with the good shoes. Those the good shoes.
Supposed to last you.
He's telling you. Okay, go ahead.
Experiences. You know, you put cardboard in your shoes when your soles were worn out. You never went to your mother and said, Mom, my shoes need to be replaced or fixed. You just knew that the money wasn't there for that. So you got the thickest piece of cardboard you can find and put it in your shoes. And if it didn't rain, you could last but 2 days. The discipline was in the community. I mean, you didn't speak back to an adult. The thought of an elderly person being disrespected was just unheard of. And teachers were never disrespected. And if you would misbehave, you would be spanked by a neighbor. And your mother got home or father got home, you were spanked there. And God forbid a teacher should ever have to send for your
He's talking
parents.
about, what he's going in on, Israel, is that he's talking about, think of it like this. All right, here's an example. if the neighbor would give you sugar to help you out to make the pie, the neighbor had the right to whip your child when they was in air. They both went together. You can't get the sugar and not test your kid too. If your kid cutting up, we're going to correct him. And if you need sugar, we're going to help you. They both went together.
Yes, sir.
That makes sense, Israel? It don't, we can help you, but we can't correct your kids. That's what's wrong with. Hey, I'll leave that alone. But I'm telling you.
Hey, also, Cap, you got corrected when adult was speaking to you, whether your parents or in the community.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't just answer them yes or yeah or no. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. And they would call you out on that.
Yeah, because they'll tell your parents, oh, he down there being managed. And that's right. That's the language they would use. They say he's down there being managed. This is what you're talking about. He said when I was talking to him, he just said, yeah. Because they was, you out of pocket, you out of spirit.
Yeah.
They would get on you for that thing. Because like he said, nobody talked back to a teacher. Oh, that was bad. Listen, you would get a whooping sometime and by your neighbor, and when your parents would find out that your neighbor had to whoop you, they would turn around and whoop you again for getting a whooping by your neighbor.
The teacher could whip you in those times.
Yeah.
The teacher can get you.
All right, let it play. Let's see if he's gonna get to the point.
And they had to take off work.
Whoa.
That was it. And so it imposed a kind of discipline. And again, it was a discipline that had little to do with how much money you made. There was a sense of comfort, a sense of well-being, a sense of oneness between the school and the community. The early days, civil rights was not an issue.
Here it is.
The black colleges gave kids like me, a high school dropout, who dropped out with 3 months after my 17th birthday, and then went into the military and got introduced to learning there, got on flying status, went to a really nice military school, learned airborne electronics, did some flying with the military, and then finished my high school education there, and was told that I could enter any college in the country because of my scores, but I lacked the kind of confidence. But the black colleges, my college, Cheney State College, I think reached out to me. It was a warm environment. It was almost a continuation of the kind of warm and accepting environment I experienced in the black schools in my native Philadelphia,
in his own
and
community.
my own neighborhood.
Go ahead.
Hey, Kat, I just want I know you was on this point. I just want to go back just a little bit to the part of the kids, the community. He was talking about the community chastising the kids, or
the
what
parents.
you were saying, the parents and the community. Can we get Deuteronomy 20? What was that? I think it was 21:18.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 21, verse 18.
Is that what I want?
Yes, sir.
All right.
If a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and that when they have chastened him, will not hearken unto them, then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him, and bring him out unto the elders of his city.
So right here you have a son or a daughter that's stubborn and rebellious and not hearkening to their parents. Go ahead, read on.
And unto the gate of his place. And they shall say unto the elders of his city, this our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice.
Right. So now, what did the community do? Not just the parents. You can't discipline my children. What did the community do? Read on.
He is a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of his city shall stone him with stones that he die.
All the men of the city should do what?
Stone him with stones that he die.
All the men of the city should whoop that tail.
Right. Yeah. That's right. Exactly. The officers and they sound. That's right. They could. That's right. They did tear that tail up, and they would, tell the parents, here, cause of rebellious, gluttons, they stone them.
Right.
Put them to death.
Right. So I just wanted to show that in the Bible that community helped out with the kids.
That's the family. That's the family we're talking about. That's what he was bringing out earlier. He was talking about how that it was, they kind of thought that they didn't know no difference how things were outside of that bubble,
Captain.
Yes, sir.
Can I bring out that family? That family,
Yes.
you said that's the
Yes.
family, right? When we came out of Egypt, Amos chapter 3, verse 1 and 2 says, hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. So we always, that's what we were. The nation of Israel is not, well, you over there and I'm over here and you stay over there and I don't know you, I ain't never heard of you. But no, we were a family that we came out of Egypt together with, and that sense of the community like this brother was going into, to him it was normal. To us it's like, I ain't, like even the stuff that you're bringing about, the sugar cube, get some, get an egg from the, I've never, it's foreign language.
You ain't going to your neighbor's house to get no eggs. I already know that.
No, sir.
Okay, I got you. Even though they look like you. But that's what I'm saying. That's how we help one another. I think that's what he's really touching on. Those are the ethics that a good community should provide. Israel, you have to be there one for another. Even so, that's the spirit of the Lord that we are in us as we sit there and receive this gospel and be renewed in the spirit of our mind. That's when we begin to take on the spirit of the Most High, that we'll be there one for another. We'll be long-suffering with each other. We'll be patient with each other. We'll help endure to the end. We'll be there, looking out for somebody, looking out for something that they may need. Christ said, I think this in, get that, Matthew 10, 12. Done it unto them. Done. I can't. All right. Hold on. When done unto the least of them, you done unto me. And it goes into visiting. It goes into giving. It goes into
Let us find it, Cap. You keep going.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
I got it.
All right.
Matthew chapter 25.
Okay. Hold that, Eliakim. Hold that. We'll come back to it. Let it play. I'm trying to get. Did he get to that segregation part where he talking about they didn't let it play? I didn't time step it. Hopefully it come up on real soon. Can we get to play? Thank you.
It was this. Cheney was a continuation of that kind of loving experience, but it was tough. I remember I entered with 13 other veterans, and we were given some priority in admissions because it was thought that we were mature. Our grades weren't that great, and so we were placed on academic probation, but over half of us made the dean's list at the end of the first year from academic probation. Many of us who exercised leadership in the civil rights movement in the early and mid-'60s, integration was never our goal. We never saw integration as a solution to the problems. We were seeking desegregation.
What?
Wow.
And I think confusion on that point has continued to erode the collective self-confidence of the black community today. Just a very confusion. You see, I fought against the
Stop
jury.
right there. So he's telling you that, being around it the other nations. He said from I think he said from the 6th grade. He said all the way to the 6th grade. He said they was growing, they was getting understanding, they was learning. Right? Mm-hmm. We're such a grade of people. They told them that their grades wasn't that good. Then when they got into the program, they got on the dean list less than a year. They began to be the smartest one in the classroom. That's what he said. That's what he achieved. In 1 year. He said it was hard. That's what the support of the community does for our people. That's why it's vital. It's that's the point right there. Appreciate that. Let's drop that video. Drop that one. There's an article. Is it that one? Yeah, I think it's that. Let's get the title of that one. There's an article. So he said there was 78% of the households was married in the 50s, right?
Right.
He said it was 78%, right?
Right.
I wrote it down. 78% of all households, right?
And that goes hand in hand on what we're about to read here. If you can read, if you see what is the state of marriage in America?
Yes.
1949, which is really 1950.
Officer Lockham, is that? I know it was something that we prior to was this the article we wanted to go with, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Read that.
The state of American households, smaller, more diverse, and unmarried.
So it's telling you that things are changing, right? He told us, he gave us a foundation when our neighborhoods was healthy. They consist of more marriages, you know, and that we was able to do well for ourselves. You know, he talked about that.
Man, this title is saying a lot. It says the state of America's household. Smaller. He talked about having four more kids in each household. Then it says more diverse, which I think that's talking about.
Deuteronomy 7:3.
Yeah.
Yeah, Deuteronomy 7:3 is also talking about 2 men raising children or 2 women.
It goes in the, yes, that's the word.
Hey, that's
it's
what it's talking
cloaked. And the unmarried, meaning that the thing that made healthy communities is the thing that they're not doing. They unmarried. So this goes into never got married.
Right.
They just unmarried people. So what category they going to fall under? You're either going to be a fornicator. Let's get that in Hebrews.
Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4. Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled. But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge.
So if you ain't got no wife, you out there doing something. If you ain't trying to endure, trying to hold on, you're going to fall up in 2 categories. Read that again.
Marriage is honorable.
But if you don't have no wife and you out there, like these brothers going to show us that roundabout table here in a minute, read on.
In all, and the bed undefiled. But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge.
That's the problem you're going to have. I'm telling you, so it's important to help us, Israel, to build a nation of Israel, and let's do it the way the Most High instructed us to do it. Get your wife and bring forth family, bring forth children, replenish the earth. We're going to rule. We're going into the place of rulership. Let's just get our mind right now while we have the chance.
Right.
And so here it's telling us that in the state that we in this country here, that is telling the state of marriage. Let's read that also.
Going down to, what is the state of marriage in America? In 1949, 78.8% of all households contain married couples.
So that's what he said a while ago. That's what the brother said.
Right.
He brought that out, right? So this article says the same thing. Read on.
70 years later, 48.2% of households had married couples.
So let's see how it's broken down. Let's get a hand on who's staying married, who's not getting married. So when you look at the line, right, I kind of look at it, kind of goes out. What do you think? That line goes out to 2010? Y'all think that's 2018? Does it goes out a little farther? You know, that's 20 years right there with that gap. Then you think that's another 20 years?
That's 2020.
About 2020.
Okay, all right, going down.
So that's all households.
All households, right? So, this one right here.
So
go ahead, read that.
Oh, median age of first marriage. Both men and women are marrying later in life, which is one reason for the decline in married households. Based on census data compiled since 1890, the median age of first marriage hits lows in 1956 for both men, just over 22 years old, and women, 20. In 2019, those figures were at their peak, nearly 30 for men and 28 for women. So people waiting longer to get married.
Right. That still seems kind of young. You think nowadays people ain't getting married.
Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, think about it. You use, KS, he was talking about it himself, saying that, there's a threshold for women, when they should be married and having children. He's kind of giving that mindset that, there's a area in there. And they once you get on the other side, it's hard to have children.
Right.
There's things that comes against that. So it's important that you not only marry younger, but that you have children young. You know what I mean? You don't want to be 50 years old talking about, man,
wish I would have.
yeah,
Now it's time to learn how to be a wife.
Are you kidding me? Go down. Okay, go
Can
ahead.
I show one of the factors that contributed? Go to the Telegram with the Cosmo. Her name is Sue Ellen Browder, right?
Yes.
So the age that people are getting married, you see it from the years of the census data compiled. It has increased. They were getting married young. You saw the slave days. In the slave days, they knew, hey, I might 17. I might make it. I might live to about 25.
Yeah.
So they knew they had more sense. They said, let me go ahead and get married. So here's one of the things that happened to our people, right? So this here, go that. She wrote fake news for Cosmopolitan and now regrets misleading women on feminism. So this woman right here, scroll down. This is from the Daily Signal. This woman here is named Sue Ellen Browder. It says, Sue Ellen Browder wrote fake news before fake news was ever a thing, except she prefers not to call it that. Not because she's embarrassed to admit she wrote fake news, although she's certainly not proud, but because she thinks the term fake news is too vague to understand. So I'm going to go down while I continue reading. No. Go stay right there. Yeah. Browder, a Cosmopolitan magazine writer for 20 years, describes what she wrote as propaganda. The goal? To sell women on the idea that sexual liberation is the path to the single woman's personal fulfillment. So that right there, this woman for 20 years, men, we see the Cosmopolitan. This is what the sisters growing up around our age, they was reading and stuff. They say, 10 ways to please your man, different so-called helpful information. But all of it, when we read it, it's the opposite of what's in Titus chapter 2. It's not how to love your husband. It's how not to love you. It's not how to, they say, do this to challenge your husband or talk back to him. All types of stuff we read and we say, well, no, this isn't helpful. But this is what was being pumped to our sisters during that time when those statistics started looking like that. Right. And she admits it 20 years later. Yeah, we had an agenda to do this.
Wow. And she called it propaganda. And Cosmopolitan magazine, though, that was a huge magazine back then. You reading Cosmopolitan, you see somebody have you like, oh man, they reading the right magazine. You would think that, because that's how far they push that agenda. Wow, yeah, there was fake news then. Let's go back. What was that? The other one, the other article. I want to drop down to some more of these demographics. This one, yeah. That one.
How do marriage rates compare by gender, race, and ethnicity? Marriage has declined across races and ethnicities, but the trend is more pronounced for some. The marriage rates for white, black, and Hispanic Americans have fallen roughly 5, 8, and 9 percentage points, respectively, since 1990. Meanwhile, marriage rates for Asian Americans have remained around 61% since 1990. Marriage rates are calculated for the population 15 and older within each demographic group.
So, looking at the chart here, you can see that Asians, I guess that's consistent with them. But when they put all women in there, it
drops heavy.
It drops heavy, right? Mm-hmm. And it affects our community more. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's our people that it's affecting. Marriage. We're not taking it as serious, but yet, the Most High told us to go out and replenish the earth and establish it and to build a nation. But yet our people are just falling off. There's more. Read on. Let's get to the other chart.
Black women, that's the targeted feminism. Percentage of men currently unmarried.
So black men falls in this category at the very bottom. Northern and Southern Kingdom. There we go. Mm-hmm. At the bottom. The other one was women, right?
Yes, sir.
This one are the men. Let's go to whoever. Let's see who marries, who have never been married. Let's go to the next chart.
Whoa.
Now we're on top of this one.
The number of Americans choosing not to marry increased during that same time. In 2019, 35% of men and 30% of women had never been married. In 1990, 30% of men and 23% of women had never been married. Percentage of women never been married chart. Black women well above 60% of never married.
Never married.
And Hispanic right next to them, leading the demographics by ethnicity.
But look at the gap between the Hispanic and the black women. Look at the gap, okay? Yeah, the Hispanic is a little bit more than the Esau, but if you look at the gap between the black Americans, Northern Kingdom has still have those type of morals when it comes to marriage, and then you can just look at the black women and it goes out the window, and that's the thing is that's by design. Because, they coming at the Southern Kingdom a lot harder than they coming at the Northern Kingdom. Why? Because let me get that. Let me get that. Zechariah 12:7.
The book of Zechariah, chapter 12 and verse 7. The Lord also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah.
So Esau always had to come directly at Judah and the Southern Kingdom. Read that from the top again. He had to keep his foot in all that. Why? Because the truth will spring forth through the Southern Kingdom, Judah. Read that from the top again.
The Lord also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah.
So all the at the forefront of his plans to keep the nation down, he had to go through the tribe of Judah. Okay, to keep this truth, to keep us from bringing out the truth to fix our nation.
It goes into a couple of things in 1 Timothy chapter 5, right? This chart right here it's we was looking at it earlier. It was talking about the age difference when they was starting to get married, and so here, just read 5:14.
1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 14. I will therefore that the younger women marry.
So it goes into also younger in this gospel. But it also goes into younger in age, meaning that the young women should not find themselves being idle. That's what it talks about, the verse above that. It shouldn't be idle. It shouldn't be saying, nah, should I get married? Should I not get married? You know, you're 25.
It shouldn't be an option.
Right. You're 26 years old. You at your best marital years. You got skin about you. You got good hip bones to bring forth children.
Right.
You know, you good. You know, okay, let's flip it around. Even they use sports athletes, right? They catch them at their 25, 26. They say that's their best years to be an athlete. Those are their greatest. They won't be no stronger than when they're 26 and 27. You know, when they start declining, when they get 28, 29, they start going on the backside of their careers. But when they best to be able to be good athletes, they around that 25, 26, 27 age. So that you can in turn see that our sisters, those are their best years at bringing forth the nation, you know, adding to, you know, so looking at, you know, deciding on a career, no. Read that part again. Read it from the top.
I will therefore that the younger women marry.
Yeah. Get yourself together. Humble yourself down, sis. We've seen that you walking around and you unmarried, ain't never been married before in Israel. So we're looking to build a nation. That, like you said, that for those of you that don't know, that's what we're doing. We're establishing families. And that's what we're talking about. Why? Because we have a love. We have an affinity for our own people. We want to see our people produce. We want to see our people grow. And we care about ourselves. That's why you see a lot of this going on out here today. Because some of these other nations feel like they people ain't growing. And they sitting there counting the people. Read on.
Bear children.
That's what you're supposed to be doing. Building the nation of Israel. We need y'all help. So don't be sitting there wondering, come home. Let's get ourselves together. Let's grow as a nation. Let's establish what the Most High told us to do. Let's replenish the earth. Let us grow as a people. Read on.
Guide the house. Give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully.
So you have work to do too, sis. So we counting on you to come in and help us to establish what the Most High is doing. Is there any more? Is there another chart?
It's the other one you got.
Is that other one?
You got another one, right? Isn't it another one?
Ooh, percentage. Okay, there. That one right there.
You want that one?
Yep.
The shift is particularly noticeable among black and Hispanic people. In 1990, 43% of all black men had never been married. In 2019, it was 51%. During that period, the percent of black women who are unmarried increased from 37 to 47%. For Hispanic women, it increased from 27% to 37%. The percentage of Hispanic men who are unmarried increased from 37% to 45%.
You know, these you can see that, you know, that agenda that you was talking about, like, it was targeting our people. Obviously.
Yes, sir.
You know, and it had an effect on us.
Because the feminism, it didn't change them other nations that much. Because that's not who they were targeting. This chart is not saying, oh, well, they are just deciding not. No, somebody targeted and meant to break up the household of the black and Hispanic and succeeded. That's what this chart is showing. And that they were being told things like what? Sexual liberation. What? The chart above of the age that people start to get married with their first marriage increase because women were told, women were being told what? Have your whole phase, run around, just don't, you too young to get married. These things that our people get told, but it's for our detriment. It's not for our betterment. We're trying to nation build because the children of Israel are family, and we build families. That's the functioning unit of the nation of Israel, is the family.
Drop that. Let's go on. Let's go to another. Let's see. That's the one?
Yes, the
okay.
One. Yeah,
all right.
That's the one that's going into the in our nation, as far as so-called African American. You want to bring it out, or you want
to touch on it? You touch on it.
Yeah. Read that also line.
Black demographics. Black marriage in America. Over the last few decades, marriage has been a declining institution among all Americans, and this decline is even more evident in the black community. In 2019, only 30% of African Americans were married, compared to 48% of all Americans.
So, what was that number you had again, Cap?
78.8%.
So, from 78.8% to what? 30% of African Americans were married. That's sad. That shows you that it's something. It's a target. That shows you. Give me Psalms 83. Let's get that real quick.
The book of Psalms, chapter 83, verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
Yeah, I want to go into that crafty counsel that they taken against our people. Crafty counsel, which started with welfare, okay, with the Section 8 and all these other things where the man must leave the house. Okay, read that part again.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones.
So they consulted against, meaning they came together, all these nations that they about to list in the Bible, that the Bible's about to list, all these conspired together with a way to keep us down, to keep us being unified. Read on.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
So if we not unified, then that's the only way that we can be cut off from being a nation, because there's no unity. So they can have their way with us. Read on.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
Read on.
For they have consulted together with one consent.
So all of them was in agreement with this. Read on.
They are confederate against thee.
So they in cahoots on this. They confederate against this. Meaning they with this on this premise they agree on. They might in other things they might be in the disagreement with, but when it comes to us keeping us down, they are in agreement on. Like they don't fight against it. Read on.
The tabernacles of Edom.
So the number one culprit is the so-called white man, Esau. Read on.
And the Ishmaelites.
Read on.
Of Moab and the Hagarenes.
So Chinese and the Africans. Read on.
Gebal and Ammon.
And the Japanese. So these people are coming together and confederate, and they consult together with things like this. When you see that while marriage, the marriages in our communities are so bad, then you look at the number one culprit, which is Esau. That's behind it, and the other nations follow his lead in keeping us down, keeping our household divided. Now, start that from the beginning.
Pretty much.
That's all. Go ahead.
If you want us to help you out, you got to get that black man out of your house,
right?
Or we're not helping you,
right?
That's a first.
That's something they came up with.
Yeah, crafty counsel.
So they was in agreement. What some of them, you had some that came with the idea, and they laid it out, and now and they put it into fruition. Meaning, and you can see the results of it today.
Right.
Now we don't have marriage is not strong in our community. Read it from the top. Read this article from the topic. You want to say something like that?
Yeah. I mean, those guys, that round table, that video. Let's get the round table right quick. Just make sure that we touch on it. Can I get the video with the round table? Because the brothers was talking on what you're talking about. I want to just use that to help kind of connect the dots right here. So here it is. This is called Black Men in Marriage, right? There was a men round table. It's called the MRT. And it goes into, there's a series that they done. It's just recently was done. And so what you had is a lot of brothers that was in the homemonger. They didn't trust women. And so it goes into those numbers that we were seeing, that they didn't want to marry. The black women don't want to marry. The black men don't want to marry. And it's telling you why. Here, that the reason why. Play that. Let's play it. This started back. Is it ready? Can we get it up? Yeah, start it from the beginning.
I didn't think there was one woman that could.
Turn it
I
up.
didn't think there was one woman that could fulfill my intellect, my intellect as well as my noise. That could fulfill my intellect. That could keep me entertained long enough for me to consider being with her for a year, let alone the rest of my life, right? Because I was so accustomed to different women. Multiple women every week was always the goal.
Stop right there.
Was the life.
It goes back into Hebrews 13:4. He's telling you, look how what category are you gonna fall in? So he's telling you this is how I was getting this. I was walking around. I was dealing like that. Just horn out our sisters. You know what I mean? Just no respect. Talking about it, all women couldn't. He was trying to. He makes it seem like he was. Okay, play on.
And this is another reason, like what I said earlier, that black women don't trust black men because exactly the way his mentality was or is. I'm not sure if he's still like that or not, but that's the reason why they lean towards the other nations because they can't trust the black man.
Right.
Because of this mentality right here.
I got an article for that too. If you want.
Okay, all right. Let it play a little bit. I think something's gonna come out with it. He's gonna ask a question. Let it play.
Lifestyle. So to think that I could find everything I need in one seemed impossible.
Did you always know you wanted to be married since you guys are already happily married with children now? And do you guys want to get married? You think that person's out there for you? And so, who do we start with?
I'll jump in.
Okay,
right,
excited.
I always knew I wanted to get married.
Why?
My father lived 5 minutes away from me. I never knew him. And so
How did you know he lived 5 minutes away?
Because my mom we would pass by the house and we're like, that's where your father stays.
Wow.
And so unity, fatherhood is something I used to raise my hand in school when they said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'll be like, I want to be a father. Oh, wow. I remember the homie used to be like, you can do that right now, homie. You can just... not like that.
Wow.
So I knew I wanted to, be a father, even before I knew I wanted marriage. I was shooting for fatherhood before I was even shooting for marriage. But I knew that all went
He said
line
unity was one of the words he pulled out, right? Give me Sirach 25 and 1 right quick.
The book of Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, chapter 25, verse 1. In 3 things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before God and men. The unity of brethren.
Read on.
The love of neighbors.
Read on.
A man and a wife that agree together.
Unity is a part of, it's an element that takes to build strong communities. You know what I'm saying? And when we go back and you look back over it, when we encompass all the things that we're hearing and that we're trying to, that we're bringing out, it goes into unity. It goes in establishing relationships. It goes into where people understand that, it goes into a man and a woman. It goes into another brother with another brother dealing with each other, in these laws. You know what I mean? Those things build strong relationships. So he was saying that's what he wanted. You know what I mean? He said he wanted, I think he mentioned fatherhood. What was it? What did he say?
Fatherhood. He wanted fatherhood before he wanted marriage.
Before he wanted marriage, okay, which 3 is it? Either marriage,
right.
or adultery, or
he got it backwards, right?
Yeah, you kidding me here?
But that goes from that counsel, that crafty counsel.
Right, it does also. And the thing of it is that with this brother right here, I think go ahead, Officer Locke, you got something?
Put it over there. Don't play it. Just show him. This generation is the generational gap after the video of that man that we saw from that strong community.
Okay.
He was from before a lot of these attacks, psychological and spiritual, on our people, before the get the man out the house. This generation is the generation that grew up after the get the man out the house mothers.
Yes.
And that's what they was raised by. So some of the things that they didn't know any better, obviously, but that was why, because of those tactics that was used against our people.
Mm-hmm. And then you're looking at the product of it.
Yes, sir.
Let it play.
Mm-hmm. And so it was something I desired. It was something I dreamt about. It was something I wanted. Now, my life high school wasn't like I was faithful in my relationships, or in college. So I didn't understand what it took to do it, but I knew that was the end goal.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I always desired marriage, desired a family, and desired fatherhood.
And how's it feel?
It's like, I would say, like, my humanity is fulfilled. Like my inheritance. Like, there's a legacy I get to leave.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
I respect that.
That's
dope.
That's good.
Yeah.
Stefan?
For me, in the back of my mind, like way in the back of my mind, I wanted marriage, but I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think there was one woman that could fulfill my intellect.
Pause right there. I'm in the home, but the brothers are going off like it's this is amazing. And that's what they made to have a wife.
Right.
You that's but that just goes to show that lifestyle that they was leading. Running around, from woman to woman, going to club, whatever he was doing.
Go ahead.
My bad. But that's because that's all they was ever taught. That's the example. The father not being in the household, pretty sure he was messing with other women.
He was riding by his house. That your father lived right there.
Right. The boys that he grew up with. Hey, remember what he said? He said, "Hey, you can be a father right now." You know what I'm saying? Pretty much saying that, hey, all you gotta do is sleep with something. You know what I mean? That's the example that our people are giving each other. They're not talking about marriage. All they're talking about is sleeping from woman to woman, or even the women sleeping from man to man.
Like in Proverbs 18:22. This is what I was thinking about when he was saying that.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 18, verse 22.
Whoso
findeth a wife,
not a roundabout way girl, but you're looking for a wife, And I know we're talking about that. They have to have the structure, and like the brother was saying about the knit community and stuff like that. You always talked about having sex, but we know you never had none. You talk like you was doing something. You just lying. Read on.
Whoso findeth a wife findeth a good thing.
That's good to be married. It's good to build a family. It's good to establish your community. Read on.
And obtaineth favor of the Lord.
That marriage is of the Most High. All that other stuff, that's carnal. It's from your dad not being in the house, like you said.
Right, and you can see, after he experienced marriage, you can see that his spirit it's connected with him.
Right, he said something about that.
He says he get a sense of a legacy being left. Like he got a purpose now. And you can see that.
He said he found his humanity.
He found his humanity.
Can I back you up on that with a script also?
Yes, sir.
Sirach, chapter 26, verse 13. The grace of a wife delighteth her husband, and her discretion will fatten his bones. He said his whole spirit changed around.
Right, read that again.
The grace of a wife delighteth her husband, and her discretion will fatten his bones.
That goes into you remember that video? I think you put the video with Cosby that when it came on. That right?
Right.
Yeah,
we didn't play that.
Yeah, no, we didn't play that.
Yeah, play that.
Play that. We'll come back to this
because he was bouncing around. He was happy.
Yeah.
You seen him?
His bone was fat.
He bad with the bone.
Yeah, play that thing. I want see what y'all talking about.
He was grooving. He was feeling that thing.
Read the script again, though. Lie. Can read the script again.
The grace of a wife delighteth her husband.
When you have a wife that she's well pleasing to you, you know, it delights you. You know what I mean? You well pleased. You look forward to going home.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You look forward to getting to the house.
Right. Read on.
And her discretion will fatten his bones.
So play the video. So when you see this brother right here, you can see his bone is fattened.
His bones is fattened. Play the video. Look at
All right.
So this type of man right here, he not waiting outside and he coming home from work just sitting in the car. Nah, he coming straight in.
Yeah, he going in the house
to come get loved on.
And we wanted to bring that video out because during that time, Bill Cosby was showing some good examples, some good images of our people, successful black couples that had families. And it was a positive image.
Right. He was a doctor, and the wife was a lawyer. These shows nowadays where they want you to inspire to be a rapper or a ball player, but you know, right there, Cosby was showing you that you can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer. You know what I mean? You can go to college.
That's heavy though, officer. There's some images. Click on those images that we had sent and bring them up, and let's kind of touch on what everybody's talking about here. And so this is what it goes into is that when you see that, even for me, you know, I remember that show that was the sitcom of Fresh Prince, but you had like even Good Times, right? You got that one. Bring that one up. Even Good Times. That show, you know, it when we watched it and we seen it, you know, and y'all might have seen some reruns or whatever the case may be. In that case where James Evans, I think that was his name in the show, but that it depicted that he was like Abraham. He ruled his house. You know what I mean? You know, JJ. You know, he would kind of get out of. You know, he would get checked. But he'd go somewhere and sit himself down somewhere. You know what I mean? Because his dad was. You know, he was running the house. So he shows us that he was the head of the house. It wasn't, you know, nothing. He would tell us, say, Wilma, you know, I'm doing this. You know, he would call her out. You know, like, no, this is how this is going down. And, you know, she's just running the corner or something like that. But, you know, he was handling his house. So there was more families that depicted this image. But Good Time was one that showed that, you know, he ran his house well, like it says in the book of Genesis chapter 18, verse 19. You know, he commanded his house. That's the word I was looking for. Yes, you know, sir. His son, he was a little docile. And in that show, and if y'all follow that show or got some history on it, we was talking about it a while ago ourselves, is that they had to kill him off that show. They had to remove him off that show because he was coming back that follow season. He said he wanted to keep the same demeanor. And I think there was some production issues or something like that, and they kind of killed him off the show, meaning that I think they say he was in a car accident. And then from that point on, it was his wife, JJ Dim, that was in it, but they had removed him off.
Right.
That was the beginning of pushing the single parent household.
Right.
And all them shows, put that over there. All them shows, scroll, give it a little scroll. Give it a little scroll, a little roll. There we go. All them facts. See the family, you got the characters are husband, wife, this character's son, this character's daughter. Now on the shows, they got what? Like these new shows, they don't have any of these imagery look like that. This look like a family, right? You got the husband character, even the comedic ones, the husband, the wife, the son. Now it's, well, I'm the son and the daughter, and this is my dad and this is my other dad. That's not biblical family.
Right. Y'all might see that new show that's on Netflix with Mike Epps. It's called The Shaws or something like that. He has a family, but then they also show the baby mama and, you know, all that type
confusion.
Confusion. That's what they pushing nowadays. Baby mamas is in the mix. calling it a blended family. Nah, man, it's not supposed to be like that.
So one of the things that we realize now and how we come to that we know what marriage should look like. We know what families should look like. We know what it takes. You know, we keep the commandment. We know what it's like for a man to reach out and bring a sister into his life. Let's get some of those images that we got of some of the weddings. Just wanted to bring them out. The weddings. Let's see which one. Let's see. Yeah, we'll start there. That's we'll start there. See, there we go. Kingly brothers. There we go. That's a marriage. That's what it looked like, because we're going to make the family strong again. That's what we're trying to show. And so brothers are doing those things. We're coming back. We're establishing ourselves as a nation of people. Look at this imagery. Look at the beauty. Look at the love that we have for one for another, because we're making the Israelite families strong and great again.
Mama, don't you worry about your daughter, 'cause you're leaving her in real good hands.
We got your daughter, Israel. We're taking care of our daughters. We marrying them. We're doing right by them.
This man is slowly coming into view.
All right, drop that one. Drop that. Drop that. That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Oh, praise it.
Well, brother ain't married. He probably like that thing.
Yes,
I like
sir.
him. I know you like that thing.
Yes,
He
sir.
see himself up there, right?
Yes, sir.
Let's pick up another one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Making the Israelite family great again. And that's what we're talking about, that we always had this, and we just having to come back to them. We had some struggles. We had some dysfunctions.
We getting there, huh?
But we're getting there. Play it. The union between a man and a woman. That's what the Most High was saying, that replenish the earth, you know, for our nation, for our people. You know, when we do these things that's in righteousness, the Most High adds to us, you know, and the children are coming forth. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
We're growing.
We promoting marriages in our community.
Right.
Keep God's laws.
Right.
But we have to read a disclaimer. Come on,
sense.
that don't even
Yeah.
make no sense. You let you know that we in the land of Satan.
All right, drop that. Drop that. Give me another one.
Ain't that something though? We got to read a disclaimer. We promoting marriages between a union between a
Honorable
man
things.
and a woman.
Yes. Oh, there's our beloved brother.
I know that brother.
I know that. Yeah, we know him from somewhere.
Can I get the book of Sirach, chapter 4, verse 10?
Brother making calls in. Brother came off security, made that thing happen.
Sirach, chapter 4 and verse 10. Be as a father unto the fatherless, and instead of a husband unto their mother, so shalt thou be the son of the Most High. So, turn down for me a little bit. So, upon me coming into this truth, I started over there at Regan Drive, and this particular sister, I never knew she was there until we went to Concord address. And upon getting to that location, I started noticing the sister, and the first thing I started doing was dealing with her son, Gabriel. Read that script again. The book of Sirach, chapter 4 and verse 10. Be as a father unto the fatherless, and instead of a husband unto their mother, So shalt thou be as
And
the
they got the
son of
nerve to
Most
call
High.
us a hate
I
group.
wanted to be
Hey, stop it right there.
Yes.
And you know, that's what it is. That's some of the dysfunctions. And when we come together and stuff, you may have somebody that you may want to marry. They may have a child, but the brother's showing you that he's taking the child on and he's taking the mother on too.
Right.
He's becoming a father to that child. That's heavy. That's the beauty of what the Most High has established among our people.
That's right.
And so we just wanted to touch on that, Israel. Yes, tonight, hopefully you enjoyed the show. We're glad that you're here. Glad to be back with you. I miss you all. Glad to be with you tonight. Lord's will. I get to be with you more often. It's good to be with the brothers. And there again, there's some dysfunction, but we're going to fix it. And those are some of the examples that we're going to do to fix what we're going through. And we have these examples set before us. And so we just want to just bring it out, close it out, and just bring it out to a positive note. Hopefully you was able to glean something from the show tonight. I'll finish, Sean.
All praises, all praises. Okay, that concludes our show. The Bible, the book of our fathers. Don't neglect to give alms. For those who would like to give alms, fill out an envelope and place it in the alms box. To give alms online, donate to IUIC Concord via PayPal at iuic.concord.nc@israelunite.org. Also, don't forget to give to the Booster Club via PayPal at iuic.fundraising@israelunite.org.
Oh, praise.
Israel, we enjoyed you. Hey, glad to be with you again.
We got the yeah, there we go.
Oh,
we got to get
a
the shout out. We got to do the shout out now.
The shout outs to the technical crew, all right? The Bible, the book of our fathers, technical crew. Shout out to Officer Azaria. Shout out to Officer Kaziel. Shout out to Officer Yehoshua. Officer Gidron. Soldier Israel. Soldier Oshea. Soldier Uriah. And Soldier Ezekiel.
Yeah, and Officer Gidron is back.
Yeah,
That's right.
Those prayers help. All praise to the Most High for answering those prayers.
Hey, all praises for that. Hey, there again, Israel, we want to bid you a happy Sabbath, and we want to let you know we love our people, and we're going to do what it takes for us to continue to build the nation of Israel. With that, as Captain Dakar would say when he's at home, Shalom, Shalom. Hey, Most High in Christ bless you.
Shalom,
We love you,
Israel.
Israel.
Most High in Christ bless.
Most High in Christ bless.